Welcome to the Monday Motivation Spotlight. I'm Lesley Kaplan, welcoming you to another edition and episode where we feature amazing Israelis making a difference in Israel. Thank you to our sponsors, Egan & Cohen Insurance, and to Lali's Flower Boutique in Jerusalem. So today, as our spotlight, we have the lovely Yonit Klinger, who she herself was born here and grew up here in Israel, has a fluent English, fluent in Hebrew. She happens to be the daughter of Olim parents who made Aliyah from the US, which explains her great English. And who is Yonit Klinger? She works as an HR partner where she assists companies as well as individuals with all HR functions. On the individual side, she helps people regarding job interviews, CVs, how to prepare themselves, talking about their careers. And for companies, she helps them with all the different HR functions that are needed in a company, whether it's culture or the legal side, whether it's tlushim, their salary slips, everything that a company needs to know instead of them dealing with it themselves. So sit back, enjoy, and let's see and listen to Yonit's story. So Yonit, welcome to our Monday Motivation Spotlight Show. I'm delighted to have you here. I've had the privilege of also meeting you in person, and we also did another Zoom before as well. So I feel like I already know you, which is great. So most of our speakers and most of our spotlights are Olim who have made Aliyah at some stage. We are privileged to have a native Israeli here with you, that you were born in Israel, you grew up in Israel, which is great that you're fluent in both English and Hebrew, and you can also do your work and consult with people in both languages. Let's go back a little bit before we move into what you're doing right now. You're neat growing up as a child with Anglo parents, both your parents made Aliyah from the US, and growing up in a household where you spoke English. Anything you'd like to share about that with having Olim parents and moving into your childhood growing up here?
Okay. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited. So my parents made Aliyah 40 years ago. They were very Zionist. They moved to a kibbutz up north as part of a garin, and that's where I was born and raised until my early childhood. Most of my siblings were also born there. And we grew up in a kibbutz, an Israeli kibbutz. The family household was really Anglo, so we spoke in English at home, Hebrew outside of the house, and that's basically how we grew up. Growing up was always challenging. I had two mother tongue languages. I didn't feel comfortable in either language. Speaking in front of a crowd was very intimidating for me. I worked on it since then, and today I'm amazing at speaking in front of people, but it was always a challenge because I don't speak a fluent Hebrew or fluent English. I always bring in other words. These days I say that I do it on purpose, just so people get the vibe of who I am, and I'm the best of both worlds, and I love my life these days, but it took me a lot of years to feel comfortable enough in both languages.
All right, cool. It's funny, when you say these days you do it on purpose, I know with me as well is that I've been here 36 years. I still have the accent when I speak Hebrew, but still. And I mix English, Hebrew interchangeably with my sentences. It's just part of me. So I find when I am talking to an Oleh Hadash, someone who's a recent Oleh or immigrant here, that I have to think only in English. And sometimes I think of the Hebrew word and not the English word.
Correct. So a lot of times, like even when I'm speaking to someone, I say, I'm bringing in a word of Hebrew. I'm putting it just so they get used to the idea of people speaking in both languages, that it's totally normal, so they're better at hearing it.
Right, for sure. So tell us a little bit about Yonit in the early years, growing up here as a child, your schooling. I know you mentioned the kibbutz now. Did you have any idea, as you grew older, what you wanted to do? Or was that something that came to you later? Share with us about your childhood and high school years here in Israel.
So, as I said, I grew up, eventually when I was 10 years old, my parents left kibbutz. We moved next to Modi'in, and that's where I do say I grew up a lot of times, because a lot of times people are shocked to hear them actually a kibbutznikit. In my early years, if you see me today, I don't look like one. Growing up in Israel was amazing. We used to have the years in Israel and then go to America to see the grandparents in the summer. I went to camps when I was like my younger teen years as staff in order to get more exposure and have friends, in America and around the world, which I loved. And I loved it here. It was a great childhood.
It sounds like it. Just growing up here in Israel, I mean, we all know Israel is an amazing country. It's a country with challenges, but it's an amazing country and a place where many people want to bring up their kids. So let's move now into what Yonit does now as an adult. When did you start working in HR before you started and formed your own business and became what we call Atzmait in Hebrew? Tell us a bit about your career working, what you studied before you decided to go out on your own.
After Shirut Leumi, I took a year break, gap. I went to America. I lived in America for a year. Again, best of both worlds, enjoying my life. And then I was speaking to a friend in Israel, and she said, I signed up for this university. Come learn with me. So she said, it's so interesting. It's about people. You like people. You're a fun person. Let's do it. So I went with her to the degree. And fast forward 20 years later, I'm still in the field and I love it. She is way off out of it already and does something completely different, but that accidental path I went to just opened a whole new world for me. I have a first degree in HR, second degree in law for non-lawyers, which is also about HR. I have a payroll certificate, everything to help people throughout their lives, their adulthood lives of working in a company, just so they understand what they need to know and everything. I always say, like, we spend most of our lives as an employee, and you don't know the laws. You don't know how to read your tlush maskoret or your pay slip. You don't know what you deserve to get. What are your rights? So it's something I'm very passionate about, and I always tell people they need to know what they should get, either from the government, from the company, and vice versa, also for the company themselves.
Right, absolutely. That's so important, especially for a foreigner, one ole, who doesn't understand all the lines on their tlush, on their payslip. And the truth is that many Israelis don't understand it either, even though it's in the language that they can understand.
Correct, 100%. And to tell us a little secret, they do it on purpose, so people don't understand it. But that's my belief. Throughout the years, I worked with different fields, different companies, different titles on purpose. So I get more of the experience and the culture of understanding what goes on behind the scenes of companies, of management, of decisions. In addition, also helping employees in every step of their way in life. An employee who's happy outside of work is going to be their best ambassador for the company itself, and that's what I believe in. And this is how I got into my company today, and what I do now as a freelance. I do both sides. I help English speakers in Israel navigate and understand the Israeli culture, be successful at interviews, how to do the tough conversations that Anglos most of the time are so afraid of and don't like it at all. So we do a lot of going through the processes and how it goes and what kind of questions they could ask and how to come and stand for your rights and what you want to get, and also understanding why the law is like that. I very much understand that. And from the company's point of view, I also believe that just because a founder or entrepreneur has a great idea and a product to build, doesn't mean he knows how to manage people, doesn't mean he knows how the laws are, doesn't mean he knows how to build the company structure the best way that he can. That's what I help with a lot, about building the strategy for the first couple of years of companies, until they're grown enough companies to have in-house full-time HR.
Right, that is so important. Look, I happen to have an HR background, so I know what you're talking about. And it's super, so important that, when the moment somebody goes out on their own, whether it's a company, an independent or solopreneur that decides to hire people, there are many different legal and work-related things that they're just not familiar with. And some, yes, they can ask their, insurance person or their accountant. But there are others, like many other HR things, and the world of HR is so vast and divided into different things that these are things that people do not know and do not usually take into account. So let's actually divide your work into three, actually, and talk about each one. I'd like to actually start not from the company's point of view, but working with individuals, preparing them for job interviews, the type of questions, any other, legalities that they may know. And then afterwards, we'll talk about from the company's point of view. So whether it's maybe, an adult looking for another job, or a soldier post-service, but you would post-service, somebody past university. Let's talk about that and maybe share with us some tips about job searching as well as interviews, which I know are really two different things. So let's focus on that, and then we'll move to the other side.
So I believe that anyone could be successful in Israel. Just because you came to Israel, you came from a different country, and now you're considered as a Oleh Chadash, doesn't mean you have to brand yourself like that. And that's where I come in. I help maintain the status they came in. I help and understand what they're looking for financially. I come and help them professionally, and I make them understand what the Israeli market has to offer for them. Not every position outside of Israel is exactly the same position in Israel. There's different types of titles. There's different types of fields you could get into. What I do with my people I work with, we break it down into different sections that you could look into, if it's in high tech, if it's in the public sector, if it's stuff like that, and what kind of title that position of yours will be called for in those fields. And a lot of times it's like, oh, I could do this. I mean, it's exactly the same thing as my job description. It just has a different title. And just to open their mindset and give them the confidence that they could find a different sector than what they thought. You know, because for some reason, all Olim, or like everyone, has this dream to go into high tech. High tech is not for everyone. I also had that dream. I did a pivot from a certain industry into high tech, and I took the right steps, and I had the right mentors to help me, and I had the right guidance to help me to get into the high tech world, because that was like the dream. Like I just said. But a lot of times when a new Ole comes and his family needs first to settle, and he needs to first understand the culture, and he needs to find where to live and buy a car and all the basic stuff, high tech is very demanding. It won't always let you build your life in Israel yet, or have time for community, or have time for social life. Something that you need to take into consideration, and people tend to forget it. So I am there, and I always put myself as the HR bestie who tells you the facts and shows you the tough life also that happens in Israel, that it's not always all silver and gold. And I don't do it to be mean. I do it for them to be really realistic. I mentioned about your pay slip, your tlush maskoret. It's exactly the same thing. You can't have the same expectations that you had in the country outside of Israel than a country here. Here, there's different aspects, there's different benefits, there's different taxes that you pay, and you need to know what to expect. In every field, there's something different. There's some fields that pay you achzakat rechev, which is like car insurance, and some don't. Some give you the option, some don't. So you need to know what to expect in every field that you look into. You need to know what your red lines are. You need to know where you put your foot down and say, this is not. Do I want to travel 2-3 hours each way every day to the job that I want that is in a high tech, or do I want to stay close to home? Do I want to build first my community, my household, make sure my kids integrate correctly and well, and take a side job for the moment, just so I feel more comfortable. So there's a lot of things to think about. I do also help on the side, the CV and the LinkedIn, and I prepare, because, you know, that's the basic that everyone does. You could go into any YouTube, any, ChatGPT. I tell you more of what the companies want to know. I give you more of the variety of what you should expect, and who you should talk to, and what kind of people you should look into, and how to network successfully in Israel. All these tips, or all these plans, it's mamash, we build a work plan of what they need to do. My program is 12 weeks. With a small group of individuals, but they have to be professionals. I unfortunately, at the moment, I'm not working with juniors, and because I believe the professionals have more of a motivation to be successful in Israel and to be successful, and that's where I'm focusing on. So it's mostly professionals who are coming to Israel and want to start their life in Israel, and understand that they need to pivot and do the right adjustment in order for them to get the job that they should get.
That they should get right. And it's so important what you're saying about the salary expectations, because X amount in dollars cannot just be equivalent to that same X amount in shekels, whether you multiply it by the exchange rate or just take one for one. It's just not the same. And also the job title and the way that the market runs here, that is so true. Very, very true. I want to talk about CVs, or resumes, for a moment, because that's something that you do specialize, or one of your specialties. And yes, the fact is that we have AI that can help people build their resumes and everything. We know that many and a lot of the screening process today is also originally done by AI, or with someone, a physical human being, not always seeing the original CV, and not screening the original ones. I mean, that's more for the type of positions that there are a lot of people applying. So let's just talk a little bit about that in terms of the correct, the wording to use, mistakes that you see people making with their CVs or resumes, and also the fact that with each position that you're applying for, to not just do a copy paste and give in the same resume, to actually tweak your your CV for that. I know I'm using interchangeably the words CV and resume, but I guess it depends which country you come from. What do you see that Israelis use here?
Because I work with the Anglo community, I do also say resume, like on purpose. So the ear is like familiar with the wording and stuff like that. So it is a challenge of the people use AI, to build a resume, and the AI screens them in the company side. There's different tips and different things that you could do in order for really to pass through the ALS, which is the company's programs. If it's the keywords, if it's how you build the resume, if it's a template. Israelis like directness. They like sharp and to the point. They don't like fluffy and they don't like stories. And I see resumes that I just want to tell people, it's not your life story. It's your business card. It's your professional card. This is the first thing they see. Recruiters look between 6 to 8 seconds on your resume to decide if to call you or not. That's an insane, it's nothing. 6 seconds. That's all you have to show them that they should pick up a phone call and they should pick up a phone and call you. And that's all the time that you have. So you have to have smart wording. You have to have smart moves. You have to know what you're looking for. What they're looking for, and go according to that. It's a game. You have to learn the rules, and you have to play it by company's rules, apparently.
Right. And what's your view? A one-pager only, or possible to expand to a two-pager? From what you're saying, the answer seems to be one-pager.
One-pager all the way. I do sometimes say, if you must have, and if you have so much professional experience already and stuff like that, a page and a half. But 2 pages, recruiters won't even look at it. Even if you did pass the keywords, they will see, oh, it's 2 pages, that's it, goodbye. It's not worth it. Don't take the risk.
Right. And also, let's talk a bit about the fact that people often, AI, as we know, is wonderful, and people often rely too much on AI and don't tweak it and add their own personal thing. I mean, I can see from a mile away, and I'm sure you can as well, if somebody's literally just done everything created with AI, including the template and everything. What is your view on it in terms of the pros and cons, and giving it in as is, or tweaking even the actual template?
So my tip is use AI. AI could expand your words, could expand your vocabulary, but don't copy paste. Put in your personal wording, put in your personality, who you are. Everyone is the best team player. Everyone is so creative and artistic. Everyone is the same. This is what AI is going to use. And you have to think of, 3 special words that are meant just for you, just for your need. Who am I? And you build it from that. You take those words and you build it like that, and you build your summary, your abstract up according to those words. Because everything I see, the same summary, it's over and over, the same template, the same AI, and recruiters, they see it. They, within seconds, less than 6 seconds, they'll destroy, they'll pass on, move on from the resume.
Right. So what are some of the mistakes that you see people using besides doing it too long or maybe totally relying on AI? Are there 1 or 2 or 3 other types of mistakes that you see people making?
So first of all, a title. A title is super important. The company is less important unless it's a big company. It's more important in the field. And bullet points. Bullet points shouldn't be 20 bullet points per position. I see people write 15, 20 bullet points with stories of each one, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Even as an Anglo, I don't want to read that if it's in English. Also in Hebrew, I don't, but Israelis don't do it. But I don't want to. It's not important. It's not relevant. When people put a picture on their resume, when they put hobbies, it's not relevant for the current situation you're at. At the moment, you want them to pick up a phone and call you to do a phone interview. You want them to call you for a office interview to come in. They don't care that you like to bake. They don't care that you want skiing. Once you get into the company and you become a team player and you become a team member, then you say, oh, I like to bake every weekend. So you bring cookies to the office. Then you say, I'm going on a ski trip next week. Then you tell them who you are. But first thing first, they don't care about your hobbies. Everyone has hobbies. I want to know that everyone has a life outside of work. And I'm very happy to meet more people, but it's not relevant for the current situation you're at.
Right. When you said about photo, you're referring to the image. What's your view about adding a personal image or not? Or do you think it depends on the position? Because I think a lot of the AI ones that we see actually do have spaces for images.
So it's very common outside of Israel. In Israel, there's always there's always people saying yes or no. It's like the LinkedIn open green circle open to work. There's always a yes or no, but the majority of people are saying don't put your photo. If a recruiter wants to see your photo, they will go into your LinkedIn. It's very easy, like to find us there. But on your resume, there shouldn't be any picture.
There shouldn't be any picture. Okay, let's move on to interview tips, and then we'll look at the broader picture as well. Some tips that you share with your clients about yeses and nos, do's and don'ts.
Okay, so your 2-minute personal pitch needs to be 2 minutes, not more, not a whole story, not I grew up like we started today. I grew up in a kibbutz. It's not relevant. They want to know what you did last, your previous job, and maybe one or two other positions before that. They want to know your education, and they want to know basically when you're available to start. That's what they want to know. They don't want to know all the fluffiness and the story. Again, it's not relevant to the stage. Once that is over, there's a whole structure of how interviews go. There's how interview starts, the same question every time, how they finish, the same question every time, and what to expect. There's rules to this game. And for Olim and for English speakers that don't understand the rules, that's what I tell them. It's all a game, and you have to know how to play the game. And I believe and I see on my clients that once I put those words into their heads, they understand that it's just a game. It's nothing personal. It's nothing against Olim or, oh, I'm speaking only in English, or I just came to Israel and stuff like that. It's just a game. And most likely they need to know how to play the game, just like, when you want to play soccer or cricket or any other game.
Right. And of course, to research about the company, it's a no-no that if they say to you at the end, do you have any questions? And you don't have any questions, you need to show an interest and have done some kind of research.
Always. For any stage in the interview process, you need to have 2 or 3 questions prepared, because that's always the last question.
Right. Let's talk about when they ask you about salary, what you want. How do you advise your clients to answer that? To throw the ball back at them or to actually answer?
To answer. It changed the last couple of years. It used to be, I want between X to Y, depends on the package. It depends, a whole circle of not really answering directly. No. These days, it could change tomorrow, but these days, again, recruiters like directness. They like sharpness. They like answers. They ask you what your salary range is, give a number. Okay? If you give between X to Y, if you get the position, they will go to X, because they'll say,
exactly. They'll give you the lower amount, so you've got to choose the higher amount.
100%. Give the number that you want, and from that number, that will be the line. From that number, you decide how much lower you're going and how much higher you could go. That's up to you. But give a number, so they have in the head the number.
Right, absolutely. That's so important. Listen, it's like anything you in life. You negotiate on something. You buy an apartment. You buy something. Anything where you give 2 numbers, they're going to go for the lower number.
100%. But that's what I say to Anglos, especially that don't understand the game or don't understand that rule, and then they were asked a question and they don't know what to answer. So it has nothing to do with the packages. It has nothing to do with the options. It doesn't have to do with the flexibility, the traveling, the car. It doesn't have to do with anything. Companies want to know the numbers. Everything else, most likely, is standard for the company. So there's not much room to more negotiate, but it depends on the position. It depends on the way you are in the ladder of your corporate. So it depends. But give a number, because that's what they want to know.
Right, absolutely, for sure. So let's move on to the broader picture now in terms of companies. So we said earlier you help individuals, and you also work within companies, also with the employers, but also the employees. So let's talk from a company's point of view. Who is your ideal type of client that would hire you? At what stage after they've opened their company, or if they're pivoting? And let's move into more details about that.
So my ideal client is someone who, just had an idea with a friend and said, let's go for it. I do a 45-minute first consultation for anyone, just to give them an idea of all little tips, like I'm giving to my mentees what they should think about. I'm not saying you have to take a meeting today, but what you should start thinking about, how you want your company to grow, what strategy you want to have, what values, what kind of teams you want, what kind of management you want, just to give them, a little bit of things to think about. And from that, they grow. Then we keep in touch. I stay in touch with them until they're a bit more progressed in their company, and then we get to work. And what I do is I do a 12 stages of a partnership, of collaboration, and I guide them through it. Each stage has a focus and things to do. Obviously, they get homework, I get homework, and we build it all together, and then they leave it for me. That takes, it depends on the people, but it could take, you know, up to 6 weeks of all those stages, because I do 2 stages every week. Again, depends on the company and everything, but in the end of the day, after a month, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, it's all on me, and I recruit for them. I build all the contracts that they need. I do the employment. I build the teams. I do everything they need in order for them to really be focused on the business part, the product part, the getting clients, and what's important for the business. So that's how I work. And I also believe that even just because I'm a fractional HR and outsourced doesn't mean I'm not part of the business. I'm still part of the business. I still very care about the people, the product, if they're successful, if they're not. And I basically guide them until they're ready to have a full-time in-house HR. And then I also help them recruit the HR, so I know I left them in good hands.
Right. Well, that's so important. And I'm sure that you have many that don't at any stage take on or employ a full-time HR, but they continue with outsourced services. I guess it depends totally on the size of the company and how big they're growing.
Right, and how big and what they see in their future. So I do work, I do the branding of employee branding, but I don't do it to the extent of marketing. So I do work with fractional marketers who I bring into my companies that I work with, and together we work together because we know we work together, and I trust these people. You know, I'm very connected. I like connecting people. I like helping people find more jobs and more opportunities. So that's what I do basically, is I spread the good with the people that I like to work with.
Right, that's super important. And you know, it's so smart as well. I mean, in the olden days, I don't remember olden days, like going back many, many years. I don't remember people having like outsourcing these type of services. It was the manager was expected or the boss was expected to do it all. He or she often had no recruiting experience, didn't know how to ask the right questions, didn't come across in the right way, which could really affect the type of people that they hired in the end, or people, you know, because at the end of the day, it's not just the company's decision, it's the potential employee's decision as well. So you were saying you do the first interview, do you do it by yourself and then move it on to the boss or the employee or the mancal or whoever it is, the CEO, and then do you do it together? How do you normally do that process?
It depends on the CEO. It depends how much they want to be involved, if they trust me 100%. It depends on a lot of things. But what I do is, a lot of companies also just, you know, they have a secretary and they give her to do all the well-being and the recruiting, and then they're really opening themselves to legal stuff, turnovers, really bad turnovers, and people leaving, you know, not on good terms and stuff like that. And I come in and prevent that. And I come and I tell them, if you trust me and you give me all that, I'm sure that no one would leave like that. Even if the company is not like the company and the employee decide to go their separate ways, they won't be in a suing position, or there won't be any legal situations, like stuff like that, because they brought someone professional. Just a secretary who knows how to make meetings for the CEO doesn't mean she knows how to interview. Doesn't mean she knows how to ask the right questions. Doesn't mean she knows how to do the right tlushim. It's all these little things that companies need to think about even before they need a full-time HR. There's a lot of legal around it, and a lot of, you know, how you want to brand yourself and how you want to say. Companies that don't get someone like that and only call me when they're 130 employees already, it shows something about the company. As an HR, as a professional, it shows me something about who are the people that are in the management there.
Right, absolutely. That's so important. I think, look, with any company that wants to grow, or any business that wants to grow, just knowing your overall desire to build your hierarchy, and this is one of the positions which is a crucial position to actually fill. A lot of people mostly think of, or companies, a lot of them think of sales and marketing. And as we know, the P, you know, we talk about the 4 Ps, and there's the 5th P, the people P, is one of the most important resources. And if we don't look after our own people, then of course that's going to totally impact our everything, you know, our bottom line, but our turnover and having the difference between happy or unhappy employees, which is so super important.
100%.
Right. 100%. Okay, amazing. So how long on average, I know this does vary, but how long on average would you say it takes a company to get up and running with all their HR procedures and everything. Does it make a difference if you see that they hire you from the very beginning when they're also putting everything together, or whether you come in later?
I think it depends on how fast the company grows. Now, when I come in, what stage the company is, if they're after a round of, of recruiting money, or after the seed, like it depends where they are in their cycle. It could take, just to build it could take 2 to 3 months just to build the foundation. Again, it depends also how much they're willing to give me and how much they want to cooperate with what I need, or how fast the interviews go. It depends on a lot of things, but overall, it could take 2 to 3 months, not more.
Right. And I guess that there are some companies where you're really part of the team and I won't say necessarily that you're in their offices every day. It could be some like that, but there's others where you're more coming from the outside, and others that you feel really part of the team in everyday decisions.
Right. Again, depends where the company is staged at the moment. If it's just the two founders and they brought me in and they just want a few decision making, then I'm more than happy to help and give them my professional opinions. But then I let them go until they're ready to actually, start recruiting, start having teams, start having contracts, start building values, start like thinking of the company structure and stuff like that. So it comes in various stages.
Right, for sure. So what about, I work with a lot of business owners or SMBs, okay, many are solopreneurs, others do employ 1 or 2 or even up to 10 people. What would be your message to them, and in what way can you assist these people, even if they're a very small company or 1 or 2 or 3 people?
So first of all, every company has to have a culture. Just because it's not a 50 people, 3,000 people company, it should still have a culture. People still want to have fun when they come to work. Not saying fun like happenings and balloons and everything, but fun like to have a nice atmosphere, to have a nice vibe, to know who my employee is, like to know he's a decent person, stuff like that. And I could help them either if they want to scale up, I help them grow and I help them build and plan the next stage in their company, or I could plan for them the Yom Kippur. I could come for a lot of things, but then they have to know what the expectations are and how much it is. I also go to conferences and I introduce founders and investors on purpose, because they're connecting and people getting to know me and stuff like that. It all depends on what they need, what the stage is, or what they need really for the focus of the company at the moment.
Right. No, that is so important. The culture, I was waiting for you to use that word because that's something I would have brought up otherwise, is that culture is the number one thing I would say. Happy, satisfied employees, as we said, creates happy, satisfied companies. You will never find a dissatisfied client a dissatisfied employee giving good service to the client, because you feel it, you make the difference. You can tell when somebody's happy or not. So it's super important to remember those birthdays and to different things. I'll never actually forget a company that I was connected to a couple of years ago, when one of the employees, he was actually not an official employee on the record, but he was an independent but connected to the company. He said they didn't even remember my birthday. And this was that was his gripe. They didn't even remember my birthday. So that is super important. These little things, paying attention to the detail.
100%. I also, when I work with management and I get the tips from, the employees, I tell management, just so you know, his son's birthday is today. Or just so you know, God forbid, his son is having surgery tomorrow. Like stuff like that. Just so, again, the employee feels seen by the employer. And that's what is important at the end of the day, because everyone money will come and go. Any company, any position you have, money will come and go. And at the end of the day, you want to feel appreciated. You want to feel that someone sees you. They respect you. They know who you are besides the CV that you just gave in. But that's when you are in the company and they're getting to know you. But 100%, every employee wants to be seen.
Right, wants to be seen. And I'm sure you followed surveys as well, and surveys that show that the number one rule is for creating satisfied employees is not dafka the salary, but it's actually the recognition and the personal yachas, the personal relationship between them.
100%. And that's what I do. I guide managers, team leaders to be more personal, to say to their employees, how are you today? How is your day? Is everything okay? And like really take 30 seconds to listen, not just say it to, do the check and move on with your day. Like really listen to the employee. Because if the employee came in and he had a bad morning, the day's ruined. It is very hard to change that if you don't, do the right moves. I guide and I give tips to managers and I help them see and also help them give them ideas and tips how to motivate their employees in order for them, to be there and just to be human, because
super important. Absolutely. So we're coming to the end. We could keep on talking for a long time about this. It's a subject that I'm very passionate about as well. Where do you, Yonit, see yourself in the future, moving forward, looking into the future, your vision, 3 years, 5 years?
Well, I have a lot of dreams. So my companies will grow, hopefully, and amen that I will be able to help as many English speakers as I can, because that's really is my passion and my shlichut I feel in life, whether it's the employees or building the companies themselves. Oleh Chadash or an English speaker who wants to build a company in Israel and doesn't know the bureaucracy and things he needs to think about. So hopefully, like, my name will get out there and I will be, the person to come to, and I'll connect people where I can and do the right connections, because I love connecting people and I love reaching out to people and getting to know more people. And just like the network event we met at, I met over 15 people from it. I've had Zoom calls, it's been almost a month after, and I'm still having Zoom calls with people, because I just love meeting new people. I love getting new ideas. I love doing new partnerships and collaborations, and I just love, spreading the love around the world, around Israel.
Wow, well, that is so important. And you're right. We're both involved in network groups and networking, getting around. You never, ever know, the next person that you could speak to, even if the two of you or us or whoever it is not a direct connection or don't have common things that you could work together, but people know people. So that's right. Super, super important in terms of getting your name around. One final tip that you can give to job searchers, whether they're new olim or just out of the army, or a mother going back to work after giving birth?
Because the market is, and the market is so tough today, I want to tell everyone, don't lose hope. The right position is there for you. It might sound cliche, it might sound like, oh, she's just a talker and everything went well for her in life, but it really is true. There are successful stories of English speakers, of olim, in Israel, and it's always, your podcast shows it, and always meeting new people. People are successful in one way or another. So don't lose hope. And always have the confidence that the right position will come to you.
Right, absolutely. Amen. And just that staying positive is so important, because people sense when you go on an interview, people sense if you're tense or you're desperate or you've got to get that job.
That's what I work with my clients. We do interview simulations and stuff like that, like how to feel comfortable in interviews and how to answer correctly, and how to be very confident with who you are, but not too, pushy and scared and nervous about the situation.
Exactly. So the body language, how to dress, the different way of cultures, how to get there on time, and all these kind of things.
Right, 100%.
Right, amazing. Yonit, I've had a lovely time talking with you today. I'm sure our viewers have enjoyed it as well. So thank you for joining me today on the Monday Motivation Spotlight. You're very welcome. How can people get hold of you? Which is the best way? LinkedIn, social media?
Any social media, basically. LinkedIn, Instagram. I have a Facebook group of Anglos in Israel, career and job search. Just reach out. I'm happy to help, and I'm happy to guide you in your process of whatever you're looking for next.
Amazing. And everyone can see your name. It's showing in the recording. So it's Yonit Klinger. Thank you, Yonit. And thank you for joining us on the Monday Motivation Spotlight. I'm Lesley Kaplan. Thank you, as always, to our sponsors, Eggert & Cohen Insurance, and to Lali's Flower Boutique in Jerusalem. Keep on doing the amazing work that you're doing, Yonit, helping people come to Israel, keeping them in Israel, and helping them be successful in Israel. So we will see you next time on the Monday Motivation Spotlight.